All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you brand new interviews right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, become a member, sign up for Patreon, all of those things. My guest today, and she's got it all. It's more than a triple threat: a singer, an actor, a dancer, comedian, and choreographer. And I'm probably missing something. I bet you there's even more to it. She also happens to be the daughter of Alice Cooper and a member of the band Beasto Blanco, whose new single, Run For Your Life, is available everywhere right now. Although, not just streaming music, I feel like you got to watch the video. Beasto Blanco is a band that's just as much visual as it is sonic. So make sure you check those things out. And we'll chat with Calico right after this.
Just wanna waste some time with you. Time seems too good to be true. Nobody I'd rather waste time with than
All right, here's Calico Cooper.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, it's good to see you, Calico. And I've wanted to have you on the show for quite some time, and I'm a fan of Beasto Blanco. But I never like to ask my friends for favors and impose. But we have a mutual friend, Wednesday 13, and I met you at a Halloween convention that him and I were complete nerds waiting online to meet every Michael Myers or character who played Boy Pumpkin, as he would say.
Well, I
And
was there too, so what does that say about me?
well, and that's when we realized also that you are part of the Halloween family because you sort of appeared in Rob Zombie's first Halloween.
I did. Rob was nice enough to I had just moved to Los Angeles and I did all the acting repertory and I take it seriously. Like I don't want to be a nepo baby. I want to be really good at what I do. And yeah, that's hard. So I auditioned and auditioned and I was getting little bits here and there. And when I heard Rob was doing Halloween, I said, "Look, let me audition. You don't have to hire me. Just let me audition." So I went in and I think I was like, gosh, yeah, I think I was probably about 2 or 3 years too old to be, a Lisa or a Lori or, anybody that was in it. And he said, look, we really kind of cast everything. He's like, but there's a scene where you could be a psych student. And we kind of established that like Dr. Loomis is a little bit pervy. And I was like, sounds about right. So, so he let me do it. I think it's in the director's cut, but yeah, it was my first experience and he made it a really good one. Like he was yeah, like very warm and friendly and with a responsibility that big. Now I know, now that I direct things and I do whatever, it's like, I try to remember how gracious he was on my first film.
Yeah, that's a good example when you start to do it yourself to realize how people have done it well before and with you. But ultimately, as you said, the scene didn't make the final cut. It is on the DVD. And I couldn't help but say, if there was ever a moment to say, do you know who my father is? That might have been the one because Rob Zombie, obviously a fan of your father's work. Calico, I want to talk about Beast of Blanco and I want to talk about your career, but I can't not ask the most obvious question, which is what is it like growing up with Alice Cooper as your father? I can't help but wonder what Halloween was like around the house.
you know, uh, I think you've heard it all, when you see and listen to interviews with, other kids of specifically, I think, rock legends. You hear, oh, so alternative and oh, so this and these things were crazy. But I think what people are most interested in is what sort of sets us apart, what makes us different as a family. And I think um, how involved that both of my parents were, like Halloween, for instance, like we would go trick or treating and he would go, but fully in a full mask, whatever. Nobody would know it was him. He didn't need anybody to know it was him, but he was there. He participated fully in everything. He coached my brother's soccer team. Like, even though he didn't know anything about soccer, he's like, I can do this. So I think his desire to maintain who he is and what he does, I think he was smart enough to know he could do both. And I think by him doing that, it translated to us, well, we can do both. Like, you don't have to be, a double barrel psychopath on and off stage. Like it's easy to access if you want to.
Yeah. From what we all know in the public, you seem to be an adjusted family. You have two siblings. You don't see you guys robbing video stores or
You don't
I mean,
see it.
yeah, the day is young also,
I
but
think so.
um, and your father's known for having his values and he's also known for being a very nice most fans or people anyone who's worked with him have good things to say about him, and it shows in your career as well. You've chosen to use the Cooper name, and I know that had to be tough for you. You went to public school, you wanted to break into, did you always know that you wanted to be in show business?
Um, it's definitely a unique gift. I didn't really realize it. I know I was interested in it because it's like if your father is a master ship builder, right? And you grow up in the docks and you inadvertently are watching a master at his craft build these boats and curate things that are like so incredible, but you don't know anything. You're a kid. It's a boat. Like, what do you know? But
Mhm.
you're taking it in, and regardless of your passions and desires, which are going to be different, you still have like witnessed this man giving his life to this boat business, right? And so when people go into the boat business after their dad is a master boat builder, right? You don't hear a lot of people going, "Oh, you nepo boat baby. Your dad built boats, now you build boats. Oh, big shock." And it's like, but somehow when your parent is an actor or a rock star, I mean, and I get it. I get it. We definitely, I think a lot of kids, I say kids, we're very adulty around here, but a lot of people in my position, I think misinterpret what the nepo thing really means. And it just occurred to me that it means that we had a lot of advantages. And it would be dumb and stupid and a flat out lie to say it doesn't matter how hard I worked, which was hard. Um, the fact that I was born with advantages is, I don't think that's a question. I didn't have anything to do with it, but kind of to your point, it's gifted to me. And watching him build up these characters and how to do a stage show and all that kind of stuff, like it was natural for me to want to go into the entertainment industry. A, because I'm good at it. B, I'm not afraid. I never learned to be afraid of the stage or camera or anything like that. So that being a natural advantage, I just sort of did it until I realized how much I loved it. But my passion was a little more in the acting world. I think like I cared more about the characters than I did about the music until I got older and realized what a medium that is to tell stories too. So yeah, I mean, I think I was born into it, but once I got to the apex of like, all right, I'm either going to be what is a quote unquote, wiki version of a Nepo kid and be like, I'm kind of going to be in a band or I'm kind of going to be an actor. I was like, I'm going to study at the hardest schools. I'm going to ride and do tours in a van. I'm going to do it for real. And then you can say what you want about it. But at least I know I did it.
Yeah, and put the work in. If you were the daughter of a plumber or any industry and you followed suit, people would say, "Well, that's normal. You followed what your family does, the family business."
It's called a family business. And I do have a lot of grace for, most of my friends are not celebrity kids or even wealthy for that matter, or were rich kids or anything. Um, and I came up with them in the theater and film and band community. And some things I was shocked at where I go, how can nobody be helping you? Like, how can, and it really, I think, gave me a full picture of how lucky I am to have the advantages, but also my parents are very hands off when it comes to like they're not calling producers. They're not asking, they're not they're not staying up late nights like seeing whose tour I can be on. Like that's never been a thing. And early in my career I was like, "Why won't you help?" And now I'm going, "Okay, I can sleep at night. I know that I built this." And so I think like any kid, He's like, why does this suck so bad? And then you're like, okay, I get it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you did pay your dues and continue to. It shows, I joked that you know who my dad is, but you audition, which is a grueling process for tons of projects. Some obviously you didn't get a lot. You get a lot less
Mm,
projects that get cut out. So it's you did do the work. But what I like is that you are proud of the family name
yeah,
and the image. It would be ridiculous for me to interview you and say, let's pretend that you're not Alice Cooper's daughter. You happen to be in this band. And there are a lot of children of celebrities who do choose to do that. I'm going to use a different name. I'm going to be a different person,
right.
which just makes it awkward because your father is beloved. It's a good thing to have. It's not like he's this horrible person.
Exactly. If he was like some like bridge troll,
Mhm.
that everybody hated, I would probably consider being like, oh well, let's not mention that. But yeah, I think he set the bar pretty high for a lot of things. I mean, groundbreaking stuff that nobody had done before, and just creativity. I mean, we joke around in Beasto that the highest compliment my dad can pay you is after he hears a song or watches a video or sees a performance of mine on TV or film. If he really likes it, he'll go, you know what you should have done, right? Because that means he's mentally
Involved, yeah.
engaged, and he feels like he's a part of it. And that is like the highest compliment. If he goes, oh, that was really good, you're like, oh. But like, I remember showing him the video, the rough edit for Run for Your Life that we just did. And, you know, I see he's sitting there watching it. I'm seeing the glow of the giant monitor on his face, and his mouth's moving along. He's going, right. And at the end, he goes, you know what you should have done? He's like,
Mhm.
you should have had her face morph into your face. And I go, that's a great idea and way out of my budget. He
Yeah,
goes,
he
but
wasn't
that's what you
trying.
should have done there.
Yeah, we're looking at a still frame from the upcoming Run for Your Life video that's available now. We'll talk about that a little more. One of the things that I'm interested in is that so you go to school, as you said, you're thinking about what it is that you want to do with your life. You have some idea that you're going to go into that industry.
Mm.
But when you're a teenager, by 16, you're already on stage with your dad. Um, I also read that you did something on the Hey Stupid record. Is that true? It was on Wikipedia.
I did. Oh my gosh. Remind me to talk to you about the Wikipedia. Um,
Uh-oh.
but oh no, it's the funniest thing. So yeah, so when I was a kid, they had a need for like a child's voice on like Wind Up Toy and a couple of these other songs. And so, happily I would do it. But just like a normal kid and a dad, I had to be bribed. There's no way to not. So um he said, okay. And he goes, I had to go get my shots for school. And I beside myself, don't make me, oh my God. And so he says, hey, if you go and get your shots and don't give your mom a hard time, he goes, I'll let you sing on one of the songs on my record. And I was like, okay. And then I did it. So
It's
ridiculous. But see, it's bottom line. You're a dad or you're not. You get that or you don't. And he was just like, this kid loves to perform. So I can hold that over her head. But yeah, I did that. And then I started touring with him, yeah, at about 16, just in the summers, just to help out backstage, see how things worked, jump up, do a masked kind of character here or there, whatever. And then when I graduated high school, he kind of presented it to me, said, hey, so I'm kind of doing a bit of an Alice rehaul. He's like, I'm gonna do kind of my metal era. And he's like, I'm gonna do Brutal Planet and all this stuff. And he's like, your mom is gonna stay home. Dash is still in school, Sonora's in school. Would this be something you'd be interested in doing? And who knows? I didn't know how long it was gonna go, but for sure I was like, oh yeah, I'll take the first year because I was gonna move to LA. And he's like, what if just for 1 year you came and did this with me? And see how you like it. And yeah, I mean, I lasted 2 weeks before I started making changes and saying, this isn't working. And this is a bigger moment here if we do it like this. And he was like, okay, she's bit by the bug. So I was in that show for the better part of 12 years. And every year he gave me a little more leash to do characters and play them the way I wanted to. And it seemed like every year the characters got bloodier and pushed the boundaries a little bit. So that might be genetic. I think the nurse used to be very sexy, right? And it was like this like sexy thing. And I just remember thinking, what if I made her someone that you hated more than Alice? Like, what if I could inspire an audience to cheer for him to kill this woman, as opposed to like, oh no, this poor woman. Like, what if I could make you hate me? And that's just the actor brain in me. And so I started making changes in the show where I'm spitting on him for real, and the cameras are picking it up, and he's looking at me, and I'm going, what are you going to do? You're in a straitjacket. Like, so we started like this, like real battle until it became this like Mortal Kombat level. Like, we are fighting, physically grappling, and he could throw me around, and I knew how to throw my body so it looked 10 times worse than it was. And we were always trying to like one up each other in what's going to make an audience go, right? Like, did she really get hurt? Oh my gosh, did that really? And so as the years went on, I just kept making these characters just nastier and nastier.
But the character is such a part of what you'll become with Beasto Blanco too, and we'll explain it to the people who might not know. Some people tune in. Oh, I want to hear what Alice Cooper's daughter says, and so we're going to explain about Beasto Blanco to them because, as I said in the introduction, it's so much more than music. And I don't want people to be scared off by the pictures. That's one of the things I say. You might think this is going to be the heaviest thing I've ever heard, but no, these are really catchy songs and great music. Chuck Garrick, bass player for your dad, played in a ton of bands. He began this Beasto Blanco. You met him obviously on tour when you were with your dad. And so tell me, because you weren't so sure that you wanted to be a singer, that you wanted to be in a band. So tell me how Beasto Blanco begins.
So Chuck Garrick and our guitar player, Brother Latham, they had this really kind of cool Monster Magnet-esque, dirty, Western, greasy sort of band. And the songs were awesome, and just like getting hit with a groovy truck, you know what I mean? It was really like swampy and cool. And he'd asked me if I wanted to do background vocals on the first record, and I said, oh yeah, okay. So I ended up having to get ankle surgery, which is the silliest story ever. The bullet points are, I decided to do my own stunts in a movie, and I did them all, and I did not get hurt. And then at the end, I was showing somebody the stunt I just did, and I broke my ankle. Like, what are the odds that God has a sense of humor? Anyway, so I just got an ankle surgery, and my friend had to wheel me in to Tommy Hendrickson's house, who produced the first record. And I was so whacked out. I mean, I still probably was messed up from the surgery medication and painkillers. And they just put a mic in front of me, and I was like, okay, here we go. And this voice, which was like this really annoying, screechy, sort of cartoony voice, kind of happened and came out. And I was like, well, if that's what the job requires, whatever, I'm an actor, let's do that. And that was kind of the first record. And then the second record, Chuck was like, okay, I know you do the bratty, funny voice, like whatever. And he goes, but I'm thinking, like, what if we dug into this a little bit? What if we were kind of like Sonny and Cher, as opposed to you standing in the background? And I said, oh, okay, I can try it. And it took one tour before I had tapped into my namesake, and I was standing on the risers of these clubs and bars and jumping into the crowd and like just going fully into this character. And like you said, they're not screamo songs. Nobody's Cookie Monster singing, none of that. They're really catchy sort of rock songs. And it started taking a turn for like this cool commercial rock thing. And I went, you know what? This is something that I could throw some weight into. This is something that I feel like if I fully commit and get involved, that I can make a musical success and a commercial success. And I just saw the opportunity to do it. And lucky enough, these guys that you see in the photo were so not, their heads were so out of their asses that like I would say something insane to them. Like, hey guys, we're going to completely cover ourselves in oil, like tar and oil. And there's going to be a fire around us and we're going to do this and that. And all of them go, okay. Like super in. And not just that, adding in like Jan, they're the bass player at the Big Beard. He goes, yeah, what if it was snowing out when it happened? I go, great idea. So it's like this perfect storm of a democracy where people go, everybody in this picture is a fantastic musician. I mean, in tons of bands, previous and post, but with the Beasto stuff, it's this one space where you can go, hey, I've got this idea, hear me out.
Yeah, it works, and you guys have built a family out of it. I've seen you guys out on the road and promoting, and it's a tough thing though, because not only with the guys in a lot of past bands, but obviously some in current projects. Chuck's number one project is touring with Alice, obviously. So it makes it difficult sometimes for you guys to fill in a schedule for the year. The video "Run for Your Life" is out now, and I'm going to make sure. You're supposed to say wherever music is streamed, and you can listen to it on Spotify and Apple Music and those places. But I really encourage people to go to YouTube. I'll put a link in the description and watch the video. It took a lot of work. You directed this video. It reminds me of a great or bad 80s science fiction movie. It
That was the
has
idea.
that. Yeah, it has that. There was a movie called Space Hunter, and it was I think it was in 3D. But there was a few of those movies in the 80s. This has that vibe, and it makes it so much more fun. So you get a great song. And one of the things that I like about the videos, you didn't overdo it. Some people would go, I got these sets, I got these costumes. I'm going to make this an epic. I'm going to make an 8-minute video, and there's going to be this. But you tell your entire story in 3.5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And I think that is effective. Rich Springfield once said, and who knew that would get his name into this interview, but if you can't tell your story in 3.5 minutes, it's probably not worth telling. Well,
Exactly.
your video delivers. So I can tell how hard it was to make. Tell me a little bit about the process.
So how all these videos ever come to me is driving. I live in LA. All I do is drive. And I was driving back and forth. I think it was out like Palm Springs and back. I was doing something out there and I was listening to the track for Run for Your Life. And what happens is I can zone out and I'll see a series of images like in a musical part or whatever. And then once I have those 2 or 3 images, I go, okay, how do these images make sense? Where do they live together? How do these images make a story? And then I kind of like massage the story out of it. So I just loved the concept of, like you said, like sort of those movies that you watch. And like I was so methodical at choosing the lighting and the cuts and everything, like these kind of like semi-cheesy flash cuts, because it reminded me of these movies that I adored when I was a kid. And I said, I saw this set and I went, oh my gosh, this is so unbelievable. And so I built the story around the set. I said, here's what we have. We have a control room. We have this, we have this, we have this. And what happens? And so I wrote this script and, God bless him, but an unnamed mega producer was at a party. And I said, hey, I'm going to do this video and here's the concept. And he said, how much is that going to cost? And I told him what I thought it was cost. And he laughed and he goes, okay. And I said, I really want this to work. And he goes, well, I want a Ferrari. It's not going to work. And I said, okay. So after the video came out, and it did really well, and it got a bunch of really awesome reviews on like some platforms that are maybe not the nicest sometimes.
Mhm.
It got really great reviews because of the nostalgia, because we kept it at 3.5 minutes, because I wanted all those things. I missed those videos, you know? And so I made one, and then I sent it to him with the Ferrari emoji.
Yeah, well played. Yeah, it's definitely like I said, the music is digestible. You can listen to all the videos, watch them, listen to them, and you don't feel like it was an undertaking. You're having fun watching, and you're having fun sort of discovering these characters because the band and
Oh my
yourself are
gosh.
characters
Well,
in
and
this.
there's so many little cookies too. Like the guy that did the voice at the beginning, the well, Beasto, like our bad guy, he's a super famous voice actor. He plays Perceptor in the Transformers. And
Wow.
like, yeah, Paul Eiding, and he does like he was oh gosh, what else did he do? Perceptor, he was like Metal Gear Solid, he plays Colonel Campbell.
Hmm.
So like all these really great voice characters, and he happens to be in my theater company. And I said, hey man, I know you are like a legendary voice artist, and this is probably peanuts to you, but I was like, would you be willing to do the bad guy voice? And he goes, are you kidding? I love Beasto. He's like, it's my
Hmm.
workout music. I was like, yeah.
That was, yeah, it's perfect. We had some slight technical problems. We were talking about the editing process, which to me, um, writing and being creative is one universe. Directing is another one, but editing is the most tedious process, and not everyone has the patience to do it. But if it's your project and your baby, you have to sit there through the editing so you get what you want. Tell me about that process.
Um, I think it requires, especially if you wrote it, directed it, starred in it, made the costumes, like the whole thing, like it's so close to you. I think it's really difficult to then step in and edit it. But I think like something I'm really proud of as an objective like filmmaker is I can sit back and realize when it's not all about me. If you notice, I'm barely in the first half because it's not about me. It's about these guys and coming in, right? And I'm in the band footage, but like it didn't serve to have me on camera every 5 seconds to tell the story. So I'm looking at it, maybe that's a blessed Cooper gene where we're able to see a character and yourself is like not the same thing. So I'm watching it, and as an editor, you have to go, all right, what serves this story the best? And it's not a billion shots of me looking hot. It's this guy getting punched in the face and this thing exploding and all this kind of stuff like that serve the story. That's a cooler video that I'd want to watch.
I think when you direct as well, you it's not so much about you being in it. You're so into watching the other people and creating the story,
Yeah.
letting them tell it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the story involves you, and you're a big part of it. But I can imagine for you making this video, it's visual. You're watching everything rather than being watched. And so, again, the link is in the description. I encourage people to go and watch it. Tell me a little bit about what the plans are for Beasto Blanco in 24, because I know your dad's busy, everyone's got things. So tell me about it.
Right. So it's so funny. I probably shouldn't say that I'm a lurker, but as probably like twice a year I'll go on Facebook and like scroll because it's just not my main go-to. And I was
Mhm.
scrolling through some like Alice Cooper page, and they were like talking about it's like, well, the rumor is that he's going to slow down this year, that he's not. And like I guess as a person that's seen the touring schedule, I'm like, who is telling you these things? And like you're setting your watch by like, hey guys, you better see him this year because it's like but you gotta like let the whatevers be whatevers. But so he's touring a ton this year. Chuck is really the guy that's gonna kind of have the big year. So once March starts, he's leaving and he will be gone until January. And that's literally anytime he's not on stage with Alice, we're touring with Beasto. And that's a lot. So like, 3 weeks on, 1 month with Alice, 2 weeks with Beasto, 3 weeks with Alice, 1 week with Alice, 2 weeks with Beasto. And we've set the tour basically up on every time that they're not doing their thing. And that's got to be a massive labor of love, for him, because it's just, this man is a nomad at this point. But, we put so much into this record. When I tell you, like, we've made some Beasto records and they were really great. The writing's great. Songs are fun. This one is like, if I was the Beyonce of metal, like, I went in and said, let's do 11 videos for 11 songs. Let's do it in the style of Memento, where we're going to release the story out of order and you put it together. Like, a lot of my uncles and aunts and things that are very business people always ask, what are you missing in your business? And that's the thing to do. So it's like, if you work in marketing, you're like, I wish there was an easier way to send this email, and you create it, then you're the guy that solved the problem. And so for me, I just thought, gosh, I love metal and rock are the best conduits for these stories, right? We can get away with telling these massive stories. We have huge giants whose shoulders we're standing on to tell these stories. And the rock metal audience are willing to go with us. They're willing to watch a theatrical rock show, maybe not as much as like a country star or somebody might be. But so I came up with this story. I broke it up into 11 parts and like mismatched when we're going to release them. And I'm so excited for them to roll out, because the reaction to Run for Your Life has been amazing and a real testament to, like, I'm a horror fan. I'm a sci-fi fan. And I just created something that I wanted to see. And like Rick Rubin, who's obviously an amazing producer, is like, you love the audience, you love the fans, but it's not about them. Like, when I watch Run for Your Life, I think, oh my gosh, like, I thought this up in my car, eating chicken fingers on the freeway, and here it is.
Mm-hmm.
That all came out of my brain. And then these guys provided this music and this thing to like hold up the idea. And I guess that's kind of the note, man. And like, anybody that succeeded in what we're doing, like, what kind of record do you want to hear that you're like, man, nobody makes music like that anymore? Do that.
Yeah.
Make it. Because if one person loves it, then at least one person loved it. If you start catering to the crowds and being like, it's not like, for us being what we look like, a lot of people are like, oh, I was kind of expecting like this like super heavy thing. And I go, I'm not missing that in my life. I want a visual that excites me, and I want to be able to sing along, and that's it. And so I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to create that. And I don't have to be, I can be if I want to, but I don't have to be in a bikini and heels. I think there's something just as sexy about this character that I've created that constantly has like huge bullet holes in her neck and stomach and stuff like that. And the feeling is like, how is this person still standing? And I get off on that. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, it's also empowering towards some of the women fans as well. It's not just, you're not just the damsel in distress, which your father would probably never stand for, and the way you were raised. I told you a little bit that I worked for Trauma, the makers of the Toxic Avenger, but
Yeah.
the guy who owned the company, a guy named Lloyd Kaufman, he would always say, "To thine own self be true." Shakespeare, he'd say it every day. You got to make this because you like making it. If other people like it, that's good, but you do it for yourself. And I couldn't help but think that when you were talking about the process. If you made a video that you thought because it would be commercial for someone else, maybe it wouldn't be such a successful project. But in this case, you did what you believed, and you have to trust in that. And obviously you did, and obviously it works. You have a knowledge of horror. You have a knowledge of sci-fi. You've grown up around it. You're an actress, all these other titles. So it shows in these videos. And I'm excited to see the rest of them as well. And the great thing about it is, okay, so maybe you can't tour as much this year. It's in spots, but the videos are there and the music is there. So the Beasto, story continues.
We strategically picked, because we have these limited times to tour. I mean, we go, all right, let's do Vakken. Let's do, so like when we turn up, we
It's big.
turn up. Like, hey, one of my best friends in the world is Kesha. Like she said, man, the party don't start till we walk in.
Mhm. Yeah, if you're gonna go big, and I think you
Go
make
big,
it right
baby.
now. Yeah, absolutely. Question I have to ask you, and I've thought about it, is, uh, your dad has been so known for being around famous people, obviously, and some really interesting ones, Vincent Price type of people in current photos and things. When you're a kid growing up, you and I are similar in age. When you're a kid, tell me someone that you met that was just kind of mind blowing or bizarre.
Uh, you know, it's more mind blowing as an adult once you realize like the
Hmm.
gravitas of this person, or like what they've done either in your film community or music or whatever. And you look back and you go, oh, that guy was around all the time. Or like, you know, um, I mean, I can think of anybody that was around, still is around, that I was a kid, but you got to remember my age. And
Hmm.
so it's when you have a hero as a kid who might not be as culturally massive then or now, at that moment you go, oh my God, it's you. And I I remember the first time I think I really grasped adult, not even adult like nasty humor, just adult humor in general. I used to watch religiously on VHS. Sinbad, the comedian,
Hmm.
did afros and bell bottoms, and I memorized it, and I would do his bits like I was a kid from the 70s. Like I would do all of his bits. And I grew up doing it. My parents thought it was the funniest thing because I would like deliver it just like him. He was like a hero. And meanwhile, I'm sitting at a table with Jack Nicholson and Paul McCartney, and I'm doing the Sinbad bit for them, right? Because I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And yeah, so it's like that's the kind of weird juxtaposition where it's like you have, Guns N' Roses and Ozzy's and all these amazing actors. And I remember um Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and these guys are around all the time. And I know who they are, and it's cool, right? But I'm still a kid.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to resonate with Adam Sandler, right? I'm going to freak out on Sinbad because that was my jam. So I remember I used to do that bit, the Sinbad bit. And then my dad had a charity event in Phoenix, and he got Sinbad to be the host.
Hmm.
And it was the first time I think in my life that I went a bit like space robots. Like there he was, and he's 6'5",
Hmm.
and I've been doing your bits my whole life, and I just for some reason I couldn't believe he was real. And I went up to him and I like I was like, I love you so much. Like I couldn't speak. I was so one of my childhood heroes, and everything I could think of to say to him was something that he'd already said. And then it dawned on me, this is how people feel around my dad.
Right.
They get a chance to meet him, and I always wondered, like, man, you finally get a chance to meet him, and you just sort of like stare. And I never understood it. And then I met Sinbad, and I went, and everything I could think of to say was already his own thing. And like dumb to be like, I feel like that sketch with Chris Farley where he goes, remember that time you were in the Beatles?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, remember when you were in Jingle All the Way? It was so funny. Like it was just a childhood thing, but yeah, I was a bit starstruck. But the comedy of that is the people that are around me daily are like these incredible uh actors and musicians, even artists. Like, my only regret is that I was too young to have met a Groucho or a Dolly or
Right.
anything like that. Like I would have no chill, zero chill.
Hmm.
I would have been like, "Hi, it's me again. Hi, hello." Like, it's a crazy person.
It's a you paint a great picture of what it's like because yeah, you grew up around all these people, but as a kid, you're the most honest person there is, and you relate to what you like. And Sinbad was way more a part of your life at that point than
Yeah,
say Jack Nicholson or Paul McCartney. When you were a kid, did you listen to things like the New Kids on the Block? Were you into like pop music?
I wasn't, and I'm not just saying that to be like a pick me girl. Like I truly we're so much of an environmental creature. Like what's being played in your house, TV wise, what's being played musically, and like my parents are massively into British comedy. So I grew up on Monty Python as opposed to SNL, right?
Mhm.
I knew Faulty Towers as opposed to like
My
whatever.
favorite.
And then like we also our family TV night was we watched Married with Children together. Now you might be like, "Oh, that's inappropriate for kids," but it gave me an elevated sense of humor as a kid where they would laugh and I go, "Why is that funny?" He goes, "Oh, because Kelly's half naked or whatever." And I go, "Oh, right." So that was it. But like musically, my parents played a lot of um really I'm so glad that I got this bass. Like lots of like Laura Nero, lots of what can I think? A chair is just a chair. Uh with the guy that sings "What the World Needs Now."
Burt Bacharach.
Bacharach, thank you so much. So like those kind of guys, and then we'd be listening to rap, right?
Mhm.
And then we'd be listening to the Guess Who, and then we'd be listening to uh show tunes. Still to this day, whenever I get in my dad's car, he has on XM the Broadway station because he'll sit there and he's listening and he goes, listen to this, and it'll be this massive like you know piece in Phantom of the Opera, and he goes, that is genius how they do that there, right? He just really loves the science of the music and how, and to your point, to the point of this whole interview is like he cares, I think, about how music makes you feel, not if it's marketable. He cared more about if the show makes you feel something rather than is it the most expensive newest thing. He can pull on these strings because he knows his audience and he knows um what they want today, and he knows what is still nostalgic for them. So there's pieces in the show I remember fighting and I go, "Dad, don't do that part anymore. There's new ways to do it and it'll look so much cooler." He says, "Listen," he goes, "I'm not being lazy. There are certain things that are as iconic as the song, and it's this piece, and you don't take that away." And I go, "Okay, good to know." Like mentally, he cares a lot about that stuff. So for me, I take into consideration, I watch how audiences react on different parts of the Beasto show. And there's certain parts that, I've done them a couple times and I've gone, this is definitely going to work. And I just, a sea of blank faces. And then I watch it and I'll do something and the crowd goes crazy. I go, oh no, now I got to do that forever. And
Yeah,
then
I can
it
imagine.
works. But it's not about you. And I think we would like in that moment we talked about the music being about what you love and how you want to present it to the world, but I feel like in that hour and a half um i just want I just want there's a word for it and I feel like it might just be check your shit at the door, leave your phone, leave. I don't care if you tape, I don't give a crap if you video whatever like that, sure, do it, but you have a permission slip for an hour and a half to get lost in this world that I'm creating, and you don't have anyone to answer to. Our show is very interactive, so I'm in and out of the crowd, like, and it's okay to just enjoy yourself. Just be there. You know what I mean? And tape if you want, do whatever you want, but ultimately I love concerts where I go and I go, "What time is it?" Like,
Yeah.
what happened? I was so in the motion and in the world, anything could happen in this moment and the outside doesn't exist.
Yeah, they say, I used to read screenplays for a living for a little while, and they would tell you when you watch a movie, look at the time. When you look at the time, it means you're bored. That's where the screenplay is off the track. If you're
Mhm.
starting to think about what time is. Same thing if you're at a concert. If you start thinking about, well, I got to get home. You've
Yep.
already out of that universe, and
The
so and
last train is leaving. I got to think about that.
yeah, and otherwise you want to be absorbed by this universe, and it's a great thing. I think Beasto Blanco is the perfect thing for you, and it's so great for fans. When I was a kid, I didn't know that Kiss was a band right away. I thought they were superheroes or comic book characters.
Isn't that great though? Isn't that so great? Like, I feel like we don't have as much of that anymore. Like, that is something I'm so
No,
proud of my dad for. These guys, Kiss, Alice, Dio, they created these like superhuman characters, and that really changed people's lives.
I first saw your dad on the Muppet Show. I was blown away by this guy singing and dancing with these monster puppets. I didn't know that later I would grow up to be a rock fan and appreciate the music so much, but that's what it is, and that's where Beasto creates so much more than just some records out there. It would be so disappointing if you were just a pop singer, who just did. Here I am going to sing you another song
Oh,
because my dad is famous. You didn't do that. You have something that, as you said, it's in the Cooper blood, and
yeah.
you spill that blood on stage pretty much every night. So I
Yeah, it
hope.
wouldn't have done anything for me. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have really done anything for me to just kind of go, yeah, let's make a quick cash grab and do this and do that. I think kind of in closing, like Beasto is there's such a fine line between, I definitely get people going like, oh, I see a lot of, your dad of you on stage, but there's like this fine line of um he has blood exploding and all this stuff everywhere. And the stuff that's on me, if you notice, nobody else has any injuries. It's just me. And like you were saying, you have diabetes. So I was born with a really gnarly autoimmune. So every place that I draw the bullet hole or the wound is a place that I've had to have like a surgery or whatever. And to me, it's like you're saying the superpower of, sorry, people keep calling, so popular. Um, but this superpower of standing up and showing an entire crowd every part on my body that's been broken and exploded and painful, and sort of standing in that power and just like owning it, like I can't be killed. And that's how she became a machine, right? Because I started looking at these things that have been like operated on and worked on, and I'm going, I don't know if I can die.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I hope some new people will check out the music. For those who are
Yeah,
already
please
fans,
do.
yeah, if for those who are already fans, you're going to enjoy everything to come. And for those who haven't, maybe you just tuned in for the interview. Make sure you check out Bisa Blanco. Run for your life. Go to YouTube right now. It's in the description. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you,
Yeah, me too.
and I hope that we'll see you again somewhere this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to see you.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching.